All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm Vivian, or Vivi, and I do music for games. I do music for other stuff. I'm a electronic composer, doing big, like, hand rainbow gesture. But so I thought for this, after Brooke contacted me, instead of doing just like a talk on what the process is for writing a song or writing music for games generally, I wanted to do a demo in which one of y'all gives me, or I take some prompts from the Terminus chat and pick one and write something based on that to demonstrate what it's like to sketch quickly. Because generally, when I'm working on a project, especially if it's like a commission that I'm doing, but also generally if I'm just working with other people, especially people who don't know music very well, um, I like to come in with several little sketches that ideally take as little time as possible that I can get feedback on and pick the one that we want to go with and refine it as best as I can after that. Um, which I mean is the same kind of process that you get for visual art. Um, this one is unfortunately Mac exclusive, but if you're looking for Windows apps that do similar things, the one that everybody says is really fancy is Ableton. I know a lot of my friends use FL Studio. Um, and then if you want something that's sort of simpler visually, but just as complicated to actually work in, there's trackers. I know OpenMP Tracker has a lot of good capabilities, but it's a different kind of thing. Um, but Logic is just the one that I use because I've been using it for a really long time. I yeah, like Izzy's saying, a lot of DAWs are in the same, like they all have mostly the same capabilities. Ooh, okay, that one's interesting. I want to take a couple and pick one. Um, yeah, Izzy's on top of it. Um, but yeah, I'm interested in the idea of falling into the abyss, less Squidward. Although I think the thing that I would end up doing is more like what it's like at the bottom of the abyss. Does anybody else have any distant screaming? I don't think I want to do distant screaming. I mean, I could, but close screaming? Well, I don't want to record vocals. That's the thing. Um, something Pokemon adjacent. I mean, I have the Pokemon Black and White sound font, which I can't condone uh, procuring these things. Um, but yeah, whatever the music equivalent of this GIF is, sounds fascinating. Um, a squirrel underwater sounds fun. So I will not go into that, Luca. Um, yeah, Larry can show you. um, I also really don't know how to do it. But Mouse Rave is appealing. Evil Pokemon City could be cool. I'll use Maripa in there. Um, so, okay. So, Terraria style music could be fun. I think that's a little out of scope for right now, though. Crisp drink of water. Crisp drink of water does sound really fun, actually. Um, Void Souls Game of the Year acceptance feeling. I don't think I could do that in 25 minutes either. um, but okay, I think I'm gonna go with, out of all of the things that have been sent here, I think uh, I'm gonna go with an underwater mouse rave, or underwater rave of some kind. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to communicate mouse, and I'm gonna use marimba in there. So the way that I actually go about this process is I will just kind of think on it for a couple minutes, especially if I'm trying to write really fast like this. Um, so what are things that feel ravey? There's a certain kind of tempo. So like 160 or so. Can y'all hear the metronome click? Okay, sick. Yeah, so as Specs is saying, there's got to be that oots, oots. I'm gonna try to find a good kit, just like out of the ones that exist already. There's house. Yeah, I'm gonna do this, and I'm just gonna add a ton of reverb to it. So just do that. That I can't see particularly well because there's glare all over my monitor. Okay. So like, just like super simple for now. And the main thing about when I try to write really fast like this is that I want to get as much mileage out of the time that I have as possible. So I'm really not trying to add a ton of detail. That comes later. That's the wrong kind of reverb. I want something goopier, which is an insane descriptor. That's almost it. Let's do some silly spectral gate stuff. So filter spectral gate. Oh yeah. That's a little bit more rumbly than I want, but I think that's in the vein. Cool. Yeah, that's underwater. I'm pretty sure I had a bubble sample somewhere, but I'm gonna hold off on that. So supersaws are cool. I will keep that in mind. I'm gonna take more audience input. It's a little quiet thanks to your voice, or compared to my voice, is true because I have it turned down really low. So that's still like a way rumbly. Let me fix this. I'm gonna use sort of a goopy sounding bass too. Do I have the? No, but I have the lead that I used similar to that. Um, Whoops. I like the idea of that snare. I think I'm gonna start it out like this though, and have the snare come in a little bit later. Just because that's appealing to me at this moment, because I do still want it to build a little bit. Yeah. That could be all right. So, oh goodness, I guess you can't see yeah, the little sub window that I have open. Um, I'm just gonna send a screenie of this. Um, so this is one of just like the built-in VSTs that I'm messing around in. And when I was playing with the reverb a second ago, that was the same kind of, there was like a built-in VST that I was using. Yeah. Let's do. I'm just going to do it in piano roll because I am, as I was telling Brooke, quite bad at piano. Okay, just going to loop this. That's the wrong duration for that. That's funny. Okay. So what's the, yeah, it's already feeling like something. It's underwater wave, goopy. That's good to know. This isn't really a genre that I spend a whole lot of time in, to be honest. Sorry, I had to sneeze. So what was that? Yeah, I appreciate it. Lots of bass and a slight dip in the low mids makes sense. I feel like I do something kind of similar generally. I'm actually going to double this bass part now that I think about it, with something that's a little bit more like not quite siney, but close to. So grab me a bass, grab me a built-in one, grab that deep sub bass. That's way too low. Yeah. That's better. So yeah, no, yeah, the sub really does that a lot. Yeah, generally, rather, goodness. My background is more in, I wouldn't exactly say jazz fusion, but essentially jazz fusion. I'm going to go ahead and save the project. Or like a electronic fusion, often referred to as digifu, which is its whole scene unto itself. And it's a fascinating one. If any of y'all are familiar with Staff Circ, that's the space that's in. Most of my stuff is sort of in that area. I'm gonna add some marimba because that's what was requested. The marimba comes with really awful reverb delay that I really don't enjoy. So I'm gonna mess with it some, slash I'm gonna stick it on the same one that we were playing with a minute ago. And yeah, I feel like the low mids are pretty down in the... Yeah, that's the correct kind of vibe. That's the thing that I want. So I like to, this is just a little thing that I do. I like to color code all my tracks. This obviously isn't important, but it makes me happy to look at. I play a lot with sus chords. I'm just gonna kind of... This is a lot more intuitive, like picking chords for this kind of thing. And I've just been doing this for a really long time. This high mids are bad. Lows are bad. We want to get rid of that. We want to get rid of everything above 20K. I'm just doing my little baby mixing because I want it to not sound like complete garbage while I'm working on it. I don't like that last note. Yeah, just planing this thingy around. So, like a little amateurish little fill. I'll add a... I don't really know what people usually do for like a riser type effect. There's some that are just around in like the loop list thing that I'll just grab every once in a while. So I don't really care to do anything more fancy than this at this moment. Slash, if I were doing something for production, I would put more effort into that specific thing. But, you know. Jesus, that's loud. That's so loud. And I want to add a very, like, not quite wobbly, but kind of wobbly sort of pad behind this, because I think that would make me happy. Or a silly pad. Silly, but we're going to make it reverby again, because everything has the reverb. Because we're underwater. That makes sense. Okay, white noise sample. I was on the money. me bring this. Yeah, that feels a little bit more full. I'm gonna get silly with chords because that's what I like to do based on my sort of jazz background, jazz-ish. I don't have formal training in music. I have an engineering degree, but I've been doing this since a very young age. Like I started composing on my dad's computer in 2008, I think. That's too complicated. Let's see if just this works. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. That's something. Yeah, okay. No, that's not bad. That's doing something I enjoy. Ultimately, when I'm trying to write really fast like this, I am just trying to invoke something, or evoke rather. I'm trying to invoke. I'm casting spells. Um, I think I like how the marimba descends. I think I want it to do the opposite the second time, just for variety here. So I'm not gonna plane this around anymore. I'm gonna do different things with it. Underwater. We're dancing. That's okay. That's an ending for the thing that we're doing. It's 40 seconds long. There is a very large overlap between writing and engineering and music. Excuse me. I am reading chat. I'm back reading a little bit. My favorite word is silly. There is a big overlap. There's a big overlap between engineering and everything. Devon is correct. We love casting spells. This is true. I have an urge to do a goofy little melody over this. I don't know if it's necessary. We'll listen through what we've got so far. Oh, wait, hold on. While we do this, I'm gonna go look and see if I can't find that sound that's just bubbles. That's the thing that we've got right now. Let me look in my samples folder because I know that I have bubbles somewhere. Because I feel like that will really add something to this. Is it a good something? Who's to say? Water drop. Dripping. Dripping is not what I want. Water bubble. Bubble. Bubbles. No, those are the wrong kind of bubbles. I feel like this is more fun if I show it. Yeah, riser is definitely loud. I'm definitely going to bring it down a lot. I don't usually bring it super high. Meow synth is the right answer here. I have one of these ready to go. I'm not going to add the bubbles because I don't really want to spend the next 10 minutes searching for them. But I am going to add a meow synth. And this is all just using that same Logic retro synth thing. I've used it quite a lot in my time using this program. Yeah. Let's bring it down some. That's the kind of thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to not play it on piano because I'm not good at keyboards. This is the secret trick that they don't want you to know, is that you can still do stuff if you're not technically proficient. I'm also coming up on time pretty quickly. I have a minute and change left. Okay, that's something. I might go a little bit over because there's something silly that I want to do here. Okay. And I'm going to grab Wait, I already had it copied. Oh my goodness, my time is up. I'm gonna spend another minute and a half on this. Uh, Actually, no, I'm not. I'm gonna call this finished. Um, I'm gonna post it immediately. I'm not even gonna edit it more. I'm just gonna send it right now because when I'm giving myself a time limit, I'll just this is just how it goes. And I love pencils down. I feel like pencils down is crucial. If you're gonna give yourself a time limit, you do have to stick with it, or else it doesn't mean anything, and then uh, it doesn't mean anything, and then you forget that it's there, and then the next time that you want to do something and you want to, you know, yeah, it's like Nick is saying, infinite iteration until the heat death of the universe or a deadline. And if you're gonna set a deadline, you have to stick to it. So here's our creation. Oh goodness. And there's 6 seconds of Squid Rave. Yeah, why not Squid Rave? Um, the yeah, and this is what my process is. If I'm writing something, I usually when I'm doing like a commission piece, I try to give myself an hour and a half or so to sketch it per sketch because I don't want to again go too deep down a road that I don't want to end up actually following. And it's not exactly that you have to backtrack, but you do have to kind of roll back and lose a bunch of progress that way. Um, but, oops. But yeah, so that's my fun little demo. Does anybody have any questions about it or about me? If you really want to know things about me, which I don't know why anybody would. I'll do the silly thing that I was going to do too. Open up Sforzando, converted, grab that WarioWare DIY sound font, grab the baby voice, this one. The last bit that so do I ever stream music making first? No, I really don't ever do that. I thought about it. I tried it once a long time ago. Um, I'd be willing to give it another shot at some point, just because when I tried it was circa 2019, and I don't feel like I was like competent yet, and now I feel like I'm competent. Um, so I may give it a shot. I do have a Twitch. I just haven't done anything on it in years. The last bit that I edited came together very fast. Is that just instinct? Was you just following a tune in your head? I was sort of just following a tune, but yay, see, it was a. But my intuition was okay. I'm kind of sticking with pentatonic voices, so like, you know, first, second, fourth, fifth, seventh, like minor seventh, in these chord tones, and like moving suspended chords around and here. So my intuition was okay. I'm gonna use chord tone type notes. I'm not gonna go anywhere weird because that's not really the genre that we're playing in. And also, I wanted to sort of echo the rhythm that was going on in the bass. So there's a lot of, or like gestures from the bass. So there's that dana that I really wanted to use a lot, or the dana. da-na-na, like etc. that I wanted to echo in the lead. So it kind of gave me ideas for where I wanted to take that melody. And actually connecting those dots was definitely just intuition. Um, how do I stay in key? That's ear training. And I guess all of this forever and ever is ear training. It's like, and what theory is good for. It's just like, yeah, like Nick is saying, you can train your ear to maintain key. It's easier also, or it's a good way to do this is by singing along with things and listening to recordings of your voice. I did a lot of voice training for speaking for transgender reasons, so I've done a ton of listening back to my own voice, and that's a big part of ear training is just making noises and listening back to them. Um, oh, I can do KK slider. Hold on, I have a KK slider. Hold on, let me put KK slider in this thing. Uh, uh, where is he? Where did I put him? Hold on. Do I have to? Is that a? Hold on. Is that a? Where does that live? I'm using Sforzando unnecessarily because I have like there's like a built-in sampler in Logic, but Sforzando is cool because it lets you put um, give it arbitrary tuning, which you can't do in Logic. And I make a lot of microtonal stuff, so I use it for that. Yeah. There he is. That's KK Slider for real. Let's make that monophonic so that there's not a million of him. Details, mode, legato. Yeah, okay. That's KK Slider. There he is. vivi Slider, wow. um, yeah, so theory is really just for if you can produce and it sounds good to you, then theory is just for putting words to the sounds. I feel like a lot of people kind of go into music feeling like you have to study. And I would say that I would recommend it, but like you can still get really deep in without really looking into theory at all. And it just like, gives you more ability to talk to people about music. I have the does my other one vocal on one? No. Okay. KK Slider is here. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's Specs, maybe I will. I've already done that sound or the game jam that we did together that uses entirely Buck Bumble sounds. Buck Bumble sounds in 19 Equal Temperament, which was a blast. But I feel like everything that I do is I'm just playing that first 4 measures over and over. Everything that I do personally is really heavily informed by theory or sort of back and forth learning theory and then writing something and then analyzing the thing that I've written. Um, and Bumblecore, a lot of my own training for myself is just listening to things and putting into words what is good about them, or what feels good, or what I want to emulate. And I feel like this is true of most media. Where like even Thanatos, I can't imagine that you necessarily need like looking at chords on the page type theory, but if you talk to people at all in the scene, you're still talking to people about, or you're reading about, or learning about sound design and synthesis techniques, and these are all in words. So that's also just theory in a sense. I feel like it's, people put a lot of stock in theory is what, right, exactly. A lot of people put in a lot of stock in theory as what 18th century European composers said theory was, and then a lot of people are like, no, but theory is what 20th century jazz artists say that theory is, and that I'm more on board with. But it's more, I feel like theory is broader than that. Like, if you want to, you can analyze anything. But also knowing what a diminished chord sounds like is neat. And also, since this is a tangent, and feel free to cut off the recording if you want to, because I'm just rambling at this point. But I've been getting a lot into xenharmonic music over the past year, and I have learned a lot of xenharmonic theory and the sort of different sounds that you can get from tuning differently. And xenharmonic with an X, so strange harmonies or strange sounds. So things that are tuned outside of our usual tuning system. So I'm gonna open a thing. Yeah, I'm gonna open another Logic project. My screen is gonna unshare briefly. Selection, show this thing. So this is a thing that I'm working on that's got some really weird harmonies going on, because you can do some things in, so this one is in 46 Edo. So Edo meaning equal divisions of octave. So the one that we normally use is 12 divisions of octave, or equal divisions. Because, you look at a keyboard on a piano, there's 12 notes per octave. There's 7 white keys and 5 black keys. And so we dare ask the question, what if we do a different number than that? And I dare ask the question, what if we do 46 of them? And the first thing is that the distance between notes on the keyboard is really small. So to go up a perfect fifth on a regular keyboard is 7 notes, or 7 steps of 12 Edo. And here it's 27. So you have to go a lot farther, but that means that you have a lot more granular control over the sound, and there's a lot of different flavors of each interval. So there's not just one major third, but there's 4 or 5 different ones that have different sort of shading to them. And learning all this, basically, I'm not gonna totally ramble on this, but learning xenharmonic theory has really kind of sort of leveled up my ability to write, so to speak, because I really do have to learn the theory from the ground up, and it's like learning to paint in a different medium, if that makes sense. Or it's learning, yeah, you're still painting, but it's you're using a different material now, or a different set of materials, or you're painting in a different environment, and you have to think about all of your equipment differently, and you have to think about all the sounds that you're making differently. And, what sounds good in one might not sound good in the other, etc. But when you have a lot more notes per octave, you could do weird stuff like this. where you're moving around in steps that scary music. Uh, this is something that I've been working on for a couple months on and off. I want to finish it like real bad, but um, it's called Valentine's Day because it is in a temperament called Valentine, where the perfect fifth is split up into 9 equal parts, and the major third is split up into 5 equal parts of the same size. So, like, there's like a certain step where if you stack 5 of them, you get a major third, and you stack 9 of them, you get a perfect fifth. And so you can really modulate out in a weird direction, um, or take steps that you wouldn't be able to in 12-ito. And it has this weird effect in that middle section that I just played a second ago, where it's like it's descending, but it's descending slower than you'd expect it to. So it feels like it's kind of tearing you in 2 different directions. It's hard to describe. A little bit barbershop pull, but not really, because it's not actually a shepherd tone. Um, it's more just like our ears are accustomed because of the culture that we live in to hearing like gestures that go in a certain direction or that move in a certain pattern, etc. But or like move by a certain step size, and when you step outside of that, you can start to get some really weird sounds that still sound good and consonant, but sound unfamiliar, um, hence enharmonic. Um, but it was really fun to do that that Game Jam soundtrack with Specs in that other tuning in 19-ito, because you can do all the same stuff that you can do in 12, where it's like you can get all the same chords, you have the same kind of diatonic scale, but you can also do a bunch of other stuff because the step size is only like around 2/3 of the size of a regular half step. So there's places that you go that you can't get to. I don't know. It's really neat. This Valentine's Day is not. I am still working on it. Are there any particular musical artists that inspire you to try new things? There's so many of them. I am, like I mentioned, a lot of the stuff that I do is sort of jazz fusion or digital fusion is like the scene, and I'm pretty active in a Discord server for that scene, and I'm constantly listening to stuff in that space and being inspired. There's I'll probably post it in somewhere, maybe in here. But I mentioned Staff Circ, which is a series of compilations done by these kind of Digifoo space people. The volume 10 of Staff Circ just came out a couple weeks ago, and the way that Staff Circ does it, so it stands for Sexy Toads and Frogs Friend Circle. It's a circle in this context is just like a group of people who write stuff together or like make compilations. And every once in a while, they'll do a compilation where they pick a theme, or somebody picks a theme, and everybody writes something in that theme. And the theme for Volume 10 was ringtones, in which everybody received a like stock ringtone from the past 20 years or so and had to write something that remixed it. Volume 10 is so extremely good. I have not stopped listening to it since it came out. There's some really goofy jazz fusion on there, like silly. There's some like house adjacent stuff. There's some noise. There's a lot of really good artists, and so that's kind of the scene that's been inspiring me a lot lately. But I feel like I at some point was assembling a little list of weird jazz will rule the world, and I will maintain this until I die. I was assembling a little list of music that inspired me while writing Void Souls too, or writing for Void Souls. Um, I'm kind of, let me look at that, see what's on there. There's a lot of these kind of digital fusion artists, a lot of other video game artists, stuff like hyperpop adjacent stuff. I was very heavily inspired by like Machine Girl and Underscores on that soundtrack. Also Zune of Toho and Toby Fox, and then some jazz artists. There was a couple of tracks, one track in particular where I was very heavily inspired by like Tigran Hamasyan, Brad Meldaw for like piano harmonies. A lot of the kind of weird sound design that like Amelia Kay from that same scene does, and Hunter Van Brocklin. A lot of the weird chord progressions that I do, I will post. I'm gonna just post a link to Staff Cert Volume 10, because it's so good. There's also a visualizer for it, but I should link it in the Bandcamp page. But it has some flashing lights in it, so I'm gonna refrain from posting it. But the music, so good. It's extremely good. I think my favorite on this album is Who Am I's Purple Smoke, which is it's like a remix of the old Blue Smoke ringtone from that one Nokia. Oh, yeah. Which one are you referring to? Ivy and Sarashu are also very much like a part of that scene, which is cool. I've like very briefly talked to Sarashu, and he's really cool. Makes some just like ridiculously good music. The planet thing, I'm not sure. Oh, fascinating. That sounds really cool. If you can find it, you should post it. Yeah. Excuse me. Been talking for a while, but yeah, I'm just a big fan of that kind of space. And then a lot of what I listen to otherwise is sort of indie rock and like whatever kind of noisy kind of folk that Mount Eerie is. I listen to a lot of stuff in that genre. And so I feel like, I don't know, I just take a lot of inspiration from a lot of different places. I'm kind of just constantly listening to things and having friends recommend me things to listen to and going like, okay, that sounds interesting. I could use that. Or not even thinking about that, but Mount Eerie, which ones have I been listening to the most? Lately, I think Lost Wisdom Part 2 with Julie Dworon, in which he's the most divorced man of all time. It's really, really good. The vocal harmonies are amazing. I just like love Julie Dworon's voice. I wish I could sound like her. Also Night Palace, which just came out a few months ago. It's really good. Oh, I'll definitely check this out. For sure. Diverse System Fusion Challenge. Oh, I'm also going to share one more thing that I did, because my inspiration for wanting to do a really quick thing here, like a quick demo of how I do it, is that I, in February, wrote a song every day, without missing one. I started on the 2nd, and Oh, Snowdrop. Yeah, no, I do know of Snowdrop, and I know a bunch of people who participated. Actually, I want to enter next year. Actually, I think I could be a good fit. But no, but yeah, my ego is very large if you can't tell. But yeah, no, Snowdrop is really cool. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I will watch. And yeah, that's the thing that Avian Sarashi's like net label in Flores organizes. It's very cool. Um, but I was on a collab also recently with the same kind of sort of group of people. That was like a potluck thing where everybody came in with a prompt that was just a dish, and they got shuffled around, and everybody had to write a track for each dish, or everybody had to write a track for the dish that they were given. And I went in with the prompt wasabi brownies, and I received the prompt, or I went in with garlic confit and received wasabi brownies, and had to write a wasabi brownies song, and it was hard. Um, and it was also like overlapping with the end of Void Souls, so it was tough, but I pulled through. But there's Specs, you'll probably recognize a bunch of the people from this, and actually, uh, a few of the tracks from this potluck made it into the Snowdrop collab, which is really fun. Um, I know one of them is Garlic Confit by Groupoids, which is really funny. Um, I was hanging out in like the Sync Listen stream when the Potluck album released, although I guess the album itself hasn't actually released yet, but when the video came out. And um, Groupoids was like in there because they'd posted it, and they mentioned that it was part of that Snowdrop, which is just so fun. But oh right, okay. I'm just looking through the track list on this. A lot of these are familiar, or like have been used in other things, and I recognize so many of these names. That's so fun. I just like this is such a genre or like such a space that I hang out in, and um, I don't know. It's just kind of a scene that I've elbowed myself into, which is always fun. The same way that I've sort of elbowed my way into this game dev scene. But yeah, like actually though, like Nick is saying, it's yeah, yeah, curated queues are cool, but like your friends will have recommendations for you because they know you better than the algorithm does. And also like college radio has good stuff a lot of the time. I'm a big WREK fan. Um, and also Spotify is evil and doesn't pay producers very much. Slash, they haven't paid me in like a year and a half, and I have a bunch of stuff on there. um, but I don't want this to be a tirade against a streaming service. But yeah, it's I don't know. There's so much music out there in any genre that you can think of. There's a scene for it.